Welcome, NFL football fans. It's that time again. Time for another edition of NFL Football Talk. This is an Inside Sports production. I'm your host, Charles E. Smith Jr. So we're going to go ahead and break things down for you as the draft is upon us, the 2016 NFL Draft. So as you know, I cannot do this alone, so I do only enlist the very, very best. The man some of you already follow on Twitter at Chris L. Sports. Here he is, one of my favorite East Coast intellectuals, none other than Chris Lardieri. Chris, what's happening out there, man?
Charles, thank you so much. Great to be back after a brief hiatus. Thank you for the kind introduction. And East Coast intellectual, it's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
You mean all that stuff I heard growing up was not true? I heard that all the brainiacs came from your area. Is that not the case?
Yeah, the ones that went to the School of Hard Knocks, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a few of us that are intelligent, but they're well. I don't want to get political, but there are a lot of Donald Trump fans there too. So you pick some one, half dozen in the other. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I'll say this much: there's a lot of common sense and street smarts back there, but we have our mouth breathers too. So. I'm sure we're just as smart or as dumb as anywhere else, right?
I get you. Well, and you are a Rutgers grad, which is Rutgers is a respected university, but then again, they did have Snooki speak on campus, so there's kind of a yin and yang thing going on there, I think.
Yeah, when you're trying to not have Condoleezza Rice speak, but then you have a quote-unquote reality TV star, I can't disagree with you there. Yeah, and I thought our athletic program were the most shameful thing at Rutgers, but got a good memory. It's a really good PR there, Charles. I'm glad you remember that.
I have no idea how East Coast intellectual would actually lead to a conversation that went downhill as quickly as this one did. But anyways, let's go ahead and get on to NFL here, people. So the draft is upon us, April 28th through the 30th. The 2016 NFL Draft is going to be taking place. The blockbuster deals that happened, of course, you have the Los Angeles Rams trading with the Tennessee Titans and getting a whole bunch of draft picks there in the number one spot. Then, not to be outdone, Philadelphia Eagles, they find a trade partner in the Cleveland Browns. They trade up to number 2. So what we think is, of course, the quarterback prospects Jared Goff out of Cal, Carson Wentz out of North Dakota State. They'll go 1 and 2. So what did you think about frenzy of activity there, Chris? What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I don't blame the Rams for doing what they did. They need a quarterback. They need to make a splash. Their first season back in LA. Now the question is, who will it be, and was it worth it? I don't know, but in this NFL 21st century we live in now, you need a good quarterback. You're not going to win Super Bowls with Trent Dilfer like we did at the very beginning of the century. So if they feel strongly about Goff or Wentz, then so be it. I know a lot of the experts out there. We've got this paralysis by overanalysis where everyone looks at pro days and the combine and workouts and Wonderlic tests, and I don't know who's better of the two. I've never seen Wentz throw a pass. I've seen Jared Goff play in college. Looked good when I saw him, but apparently he's got small hands, and that's a deal breaker. But if the Rams get a productive quarterback who's better than what Sam Bradford was, I guess it was the right move. I mean, you need a quarterback, and in previous years we saw the left tackle was the in-demand position with the first pick. I guess the pendulum swinging back to the quarterback. You look at what the Bucks and Titans did last year. Now the Eagles, that's a head scratcher. They gave up an arm and a leg to basically say, yeah, we'll take the Rams' sloppy seconds. Now, unless they did something shrewd and frankly illegal and said to the Rams, hey, just between us, who are you picking? And they realize the Rams are not picking the guy they want, then more power to them. But it was a bizarre press conference. I know the Philly media really sunk their teeth into the GM, and he said he liked vanilla and chocolate, one of the great quotes of all time sports press conferences that I've seen.
When you look at the position of quarterback, do you need a superstar, or do you need someone who's a good game manager? We had talked about that. Now, at least the Cleveland Browns, they're the ones who traded with the Philadelphia Eagles and gave up that number 2 pick overall. So at least Cleveland has finally figured out, I guess, they have stopped chasing the superstar quarterback in the draft thing, and so they're going to stop wasting draft picks. So, but when I look at it, it would be just the Cleveland Browns' luck, or lack thereof, that they finally stopped chasing a quarterback, and then both Goff and Wentz turn out to be the real deal.
That's a good point. You know, they haven't had a quarterback since Brady Kosar, and he was technically picking the old supplemental draft. So it's very good. Now, I don't know whether to attribute this trade to Paul DePodesta and his Moneyball crew, or the fact that Hugh Jackson's got some say there, which is probably a good thing. Mm-hmm. And he realized, you know, we can. I think I can turn around RG3, and or he'll be a serviceable starter for this year. And really, we're not going to overpay for a quarterback, or maybe we develop one in the later round. So, got to hand it to them there. Who knows? Maybe they pull an end around and go pick the what everyone feels is the third best quarterback, Paxton Lynch at number 8. But I will say this: they made a shrewd move. They made like they were really into picking a quarterback, and they got the Eagles to bite. So more power to them in that respect. They're a winner.
Yeah, we look at the quarterback thing and the Rams and Eagles. Remember, it was just about a year ago. I believe it was March of 2015 when they kind of swapped quarterbacks. You take Nick Foles and we'll take Sam Bradford. It didn't work out for either team. And now Bradford requesting a trade from the Eagles because he knows the Eagles are going to take a quarterback. And he's, I guess through his agent said that Sam wants a chance to go somewhere where he can start and be the starter for a long time. So does that mean he's going to go somewhere and finally stay healthy, or what?
I doubt it. Good luck starting somewhere a long time with not only his injury history, but his poor play when he is healthy.
Right.
You know, that's another part of this Eagles trade that's a head-scratcher. They extended Bradford for this year at a cap number somewhere in the neighborhood of the high teens millions per year. Signed Chase Daniel as a $7 million backup, and now they're going to pick a quarterback. So I guess they haven't got the memo that you shouldn't tie up too much cap room into your QBs. Although I do get the point. We've hit on this in previous shows, especially last season. You need a good backup in the NFL now. You don't believe me? Look at the 2015 Dallas Cowboys and how their season imploded. But I don't really know who's going to take a bite on Bradford. I mean, do the Broncos, Colin Kaepernick, rather be a $13 million backup wherever his number is? I'm not sure. But really, at that point, I think I might have Sanchez. He's not the greatest quarterback, but for the most part, he'll play, unlike Bradford.
Mr. Butt Fumble. And when we're down to that, saying you prefer Mr. Butt Fumble, I think you're getting into some pretty desperate territory. But now this all begs the question. You look at what Bradford's getting paid and what he's demanding, and then you look at everything else. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's out there, and is he crazy for wanting the numbers that he wants? Let's just answer this question. Is Bradford a more reliable quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick? Based on the numbers and the evidence, the answer would probably be no. Correct?
Yeah, correct. And the thing with Fitzpatrick, while I don't begrudge him for looking for more money after coming off a nice season, he really didn't play his cards well because if the Broncos wanted him, they could have had him by now. The Jets are just trying to get him under control at the number that they feel is appropriate. And now some rumblings coming out of New York that the Jets, if they have to, will go with Geno Smith, bring in Brian Hoyer, which I think is insane, but I digress. Or even pick one of these quarterbacks, maybe trade up, or if a Lynch is sitting there for them when they choose, take him and develop him. So I think this could backfire in Fitzpatrick's face. Wouldn't you think the Broncos would have made a move on him now if they were really that impressed? John Elway clearly isn't.
Well, there's got to be something going on, and a lot of times we don't know until the last minute. So draft day, we'll see what goes down, who takes who, and then who trades what player they may have gotten to somewhere. So we'll find out in the draft, and in those days just after it, we find out what everybody was truly thinking. Now, with the Browns, do you think maybe they got the number 8 pick? If they don't have PTSD from Trent Richardson, do you think maybe, even though I've never been big on Ohio State running backs, you give me a linebacker out of Ohio State any day of the week, but running backs have been kind of, hit or miss. But Ezekiel Elliott out of Ohio State, maybe he goes to the backfield to Cleveland there.
He could, or if the Browns are being shrewd poker players again. They talk them up like they're going to, and hope a team deals to try and get them. They trade down and just stockpile picks. Let's face it, the Browns need a lot of everything. I mean, they can pick a running back, even if you think Elliott's the real deal. They've got no offensive line in front of them. So would make for a great story, but knowing the money ballers, I don't think that they feel there's that much value in a running back that high in the draft, at that salary slot, and the fact that the league's moving away from a one-back system.
All right, and then speaking, let's go back to quarterbacks. Of course, we're out here in Southern California, and from what I hear, Johnny Manziel is running amok out here. He had those domestic violence charges. That was in Dallas, though, so he's with his ex-girlfriend and whatnot. But Manziel, have we seen what draft pick, and especially a quarterback, have we seen who's made this much a mess of his whole career? And not that his play on the field was truly that bad, but just the off-the-field stuff. I don't think I've ever seen a self-destruction quite like this. Yeah,
it's pretty sad. I mean, let's face it, the kid's a spoiled brat, but, at the same time, I feel bad for him. He's really just, pardon my French, pissing his life and his career away, and he's got nothing but enablers and yes-men around him, and, of course, the TMZ camera crews. But, yeah, really a mess. And think about it, Charles. Think back a couple of years, and everyone thought the Cowboys, when they're on the clock, were going to take Manziel. How happy are they that someone in that war room overruled Jerry Jones? Very sad. I mean, at this rate, we're going to see John Gruden do his QB camp again with Johnny Manziel from somewhere in a Texas State penitentiary system, because it doesn't look good. But the guy's got to get into rehab or something. I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. I don't know if jail will scare him straight, but ironically, I heard Jamarcus Russell give an interview today to Sports Illustrated. You want to talk about wasted talent and busts? Maybe you can learn a thing or two from Jamarcus.
Well, Jamarcus Russell apparently wants to attempt a comeback. Now, remember, he did attempt a comeback once before. It lasted a couple of weeks, and then he gave up. So I think Jamarcus' problem is that he just does not have the work ethic to become a good quarterback. He was great in college, where he was the best athlete on the field, so he could outclass everyone around him. But once he got to the point where, the outside linebackers are as quick as you are, and you're going to have to think on your feet, and you're really going to have to go against these guys, and you can no longer just run over or through them and do whatever you want. He was toast.
Yeah, that raises an interesting point, and I've kind of read this theory out there that a lot of times you don't want to take a quarterback who is either physically superior like that in college, or played on a dominant team and really never had to come from behind or struggle and get his teeth knocked out. In the comparisons, I think, you look at a Sanchez or a Matt Leinart with USC, and then someone like, say, Eli Manning with Ole Miss getting, at the bottom of the SEC when he was there. Even Phillip Rivers or someone like that at North Carolina State, not on a elite program, but really came from behind and upset some top programs while he was there. So little adversity goes a long way, and a quarterback is the prevailing wisdom these days.
Yeah, most definitely. And then, the whole salary cap, who's going to keep who thing, and the bombshell that was dropped, before, just a couple of weeks ago here is, Josh Norman, and the whole thing with him being the premier shutdown corner, or at least everybody thought that. He gets franchise tagged by the Carolina Panthers. They later just remove the tag. He immediately becomes a UFA. And what happens? He's going to go to the Redskins. Now he'll get to go up against Odell Beckham Jr. Twice a year. Well, unless the Redskins deal him away or something.
Should make for great theater, so must-watch TV. I really don't get the timing of it. I mean, if you're not going to franchise him, why would you in the first place? Then rescind it, or not even bother to at least get a draft pick for him in return. I get, in a sense, what the Panthers are doing. They're just saying, and there are some rumblings that maybe this guy is kind of an off-the-field issue, and Ron Rivera didn't want to deal with him. Look back to the Beckham thing. Now he's making the media tour now. But can you blame him? Look at what the Patriots did last year. They let Darrelle Revis walk. They weren't going to spend that much money tied up with a cornerback, and he's on the downside of his career. And what people forget about Norman, he's only emerged in the last few years. The guy's already 28 years old. If he's maybe at his peak, I can't see tying up a $15 million per year cap number. I know not all that's guaranteed, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of money to give to a guy who some feel isn't even the top cornerback in the NFL. So I think what the Panthers are going to do, and we've seen this, they've locked up Newton, Kuechly. They're going to have to lock up Kawan Short. And what Ron Rivera believes in his defense is that front seven that's more important. That when you put pressure on someone, takes pressure off your cornerbacks, and in some senses makes them look a little better. Go back to the way the Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, or even the Broncos this year with the Panthers. So in that respect, I give them credit, but the timing's a head-scratcher. There's got to be more to the story.
So from what I understand, they had him franchise tagged, but I guess the owner just realized, or the GM realized, that they were so far apart that even if they franchise tagged him, he was only going to be here for 1 year. So they really didn't think they could get a long-term deal in place. And let's think about this, too. He got released, and then he fired his agent the next day, and then a couple days later he signs with the Redskins. So I think Norman May, or his agent possibly, may have just kind of overplayed their hand a little bit.
Yeah, they did, because there was one report out there that he tried to he tried to sign the franchise tag, but the Panthers already submitted the paperwork to rescind it. So, yeah, I don't know if he got cocky or the agent or what, but very, very curious situation. And should we just go on record and say this will be the second coming of Deion Sanders signing with the Redskins under Dan Snyder?
You know, I think that I think Norman's got a lot more left in the tank than Deion Sanders had when he finally went to the Redskins. I mean, what was Deion Sanders, 40 years old when he went to the Redskins, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I know he tackled about just as much as when he was in his 20s. That's about all I remember.
All right, come on, man, don't hate on Deion.
I'm just pointing out his tackling skills.
Okay, all righty. So that's it, and we're going to come back to you probably in a couple of weeks here. We'll see what goes down at the draft. And Mr. Lardieri, any final nuggets of wisdom for everyone out there?
Yeah, I saw something very interesting again. You know, the NFL loves to flex its muscle and twist the arms of its broadcast partners. And the latest is that they don't want ESPN reporters, since they'll be carrying the draft and pay tons of money to broadcast bad Monday night games. They don't want them leaking what the picks are going to be on Twitter before they're announced. So, you know, really, we joke and say it's become a scripted soap opera, and it really is here. So all that means is, you know, the competing networks, the Foxes, the rogue bloggers, or whoever get wind of who's being drafted will leak it on Twitter, as opposed to Adam Schefter and friends. So, yeah, it never ceases to amaze the NFL. You know, really, it happens in the NBA draft. Charles, I'm sure it happens in the NFL draft. I don't see what the big deal is. If I'm watching the draft, I'm not watching it on Twitter simultaneously.
Well, Adam Schefter, I don't know. JPP sued Adam Schefter, so you got to remember he may be walking on eggshells a little bit when it comes to breaking any type of stories, because JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, with the hand injury from the fireworks, and I guess Adam Schefter got the information from the hospital and released it. So I don't know what became of JPP's suit, but that happened. Now, I'd like to say one thing about the NFL and this whole concussion thing. And that is going for the whole lump settlement. What is it, $700 million, I think, or close to $1 billion, right around there. But
yeah.
I think what they should do is this, and I know they won't listen to me, but here's what it is. Take that $700 million and go ahead and pay out whatever the settlements are. Take another $1 billion. Yes, that's a lot of money to a lot of us, but not to the NFL. Takes them, maybe 2 months to make that much. So take $1 billion, put that in a trust, and that'll generate about $40-50 million a year off of that $1 billion. Use that just solely for the care of players and medical expenses and things like that after that. So is that a crazy plan on my part, Mr. Lardieri? What do you think?
It's not, but these poor billionaire owners are not going to have that money anymore. They really might struggle. They may have to start clipping coupons. I mean, you're just class warfare, the audacity. I mean, Bernie Sanders might like this proposal, and it makes sense, but really, you're affecting people's lives there, Charles. $40 million. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, everybody. So remember, you can follow me on Twitter at The Inside Sports. Do follow Mr. Lardieri on Twitter at Chris L Sports. I'm sure he'll have some, shall we say, sardonic nuggets of wisdom to put out there in the wake of the upcoming NFL draft. And as everything kind of shakes out, we'll be back at you and see what's happening. But we'll always be reporting for you, waiting for the start of training camps and see what Mr. Lardieri's Giants are going to do. And the Rams are out here now, so maybe some reporting from Rams training camp. So everybody, remember, I'm Charles E. Smith Jr. My partner is Chris Lardieri. The show is NFL Football Talk, and we'll see everybody next time.